What's up, New Level family? Super excited to be with you here today. I'm Kevin, and this is Andy, and we're here to talk about our new 702 Series lineup. Honestly, my favorite lineup that we've done so far, but Andy, this thing's your baby, so why don't you give us an overview of the series?
Sure. So, met with Ryan Moore last year, right around the Waste Management Open. So February, first week, second week of February, somewhere in there, and sat down with him and kind of went through just a laundry list of his favorite irons all throughout his career, what he liked, what he disliked, feel-wise, performance-wise, forgiveness-wise. And we just started kind of making that list and seeing what we could do in a one-piece forged club. And this is the end result, the 702 CB. So we're very, very proud of it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more today.
Yeah, well, I know one of the big things was what we could do with a one-piece forged iron and still make it very forgiving and very fast, and I think we definitely achieved that with this. So let's start with our 702 CB. This is kind of our flagship iron of the series. Something you're going to see in the 702 that is new for New Level, not necessarily new to golf, but the tungsten plug in the toe. So we've seen a lot of additional forgiveness by adding that mass behind the toe, particularly on toe strikes. We see a really good distance improvement compared to other ways that you can add the toe weighting in there. So you get a really nice, clean, fully one-piece forged iron. New Level's very, very fan favorite pre-worn leading edge there. So that sole and turf interaction is something that's raved about with New Level fans, and we continued that into the 702 CB series. We do have a nice little slot in the back here. That's mostly for weighting and getting the weight in the right place. But the other cool thing about this iron and all these irons, in my opinion, is this geometry inside the cavity. Can you tell the fans a little bit about what we're doing with that geometry there?
Yeah, so just like everything New Level, it's 1020 carbon steel, so it's got that classic soft forged players feel to it. We didn't want to compromise on that at all. We did not want to compromise on the sole shape of the pre-worn leading edge. One of the number one things we hear from you guys is how much you love the turf interaction on these irons. So those were kind of our starting points. And then through talking with Ryan, he's very, very big on the forgiveness, the heel toe weighting, getting this thing so that the CG is directly behind the sweet spot and it's an extremely neutral club face. So you can do anything you want to do with shot shaping, high, low, no problem. There's no draw bias. There's no fade bias. So we focused on getting the geometry such that by moving this trapezoidal structure up and down, you're able to move the weight and thus move the CG higher and lower throughout the progression of the set, such that the CG is going to be lower for easier launch conditions in the long irons, 4, 5, 6, and then gradually it's going to move up the face as you progress down into the lower irons to get that spin down, to get that flight down, so that you can see a beautiful ball flight on the longer clubs and on the shorter clubs. You're not hitting the big balloon ones and you're not hitting the little worm burners with the long irons. So wanted to get the weight distributed as best we could, get the CG directly behind the sweet spot, and then make sure that we're able to ensure the kind of ball flight that tour pros and really good players are looking for in a forgiving one-piece forged club that has not too much offset, not a big top line, nothing too crazy, and make it beautiful.
All those aesthetics that players are looking for that may or may not mean anything to the way the golf club actually performs.
Yeah, exactly.
But, big things. I mean, in the measurement of that top line is not too dissimilar to anything we've done in the past, but the way that it's been kind of cambered off does make it look nice and thin and appealing. So this is going to be our flagship iron, really going to fit a lot of players here. And I think Andy absolutely nailed it, he and Ryan, and the feedback from Steven as well. Just where they got to with this, it's really hard to achieve a fully one-piece forged iron that creates forgiveness, and we've been seeing some improved ball speeds out of this new iron as well. So, all right, well, before we jump into my favorite iron in the lineup, let's take a look at the 702 Plus. This one's going to be very popular amongst the New Level family out there. This one's going to be very similar to our former 480DB, our 902 OS. Again, really achieving that player's aesthetic, so keeping the top line nice and thin, a nice thin sole, which you often don't get when you're getting into kind of that mid-sized iron. They tend to get those really wide, fat soles that a lot of players aren't going to particularly like, even when they're trying to move into something a little bit more forgiving. You're going to see the same geometry principles. The geometry design is a little bit different in the Plus. And then again, just a little bit longer heel to toe blade length. So when you talk about forgiveness, you're really just introducing more surface area to be able to miss the ball. We again did the tungsten plug out in the toe of this one. And then just again, really clean aesthetics, our proprietary sole that everybody's such a big fan of. So Andy, in the Plus, this isn't going to fit. We talk often about, we don't necessarily say a certain handicap range is good for certain players, because that doesn't always tell us much about their ball striking, right?
Sure.
So tell us kind of like the ball striker that would really benefit from the Plus, and even maybe why some really good players might do that in the top end of the bag.
Sure. So the goal with Plus was to give you everything you have in CB with just a little bit more wiggle room on the face for when we miss it a hair. So we've got the same kind of progressive geometry in the back cavity, the same progressive CG. We've got the same leading edge. We've got a big tungsten toe plug in there. We've got the cutout under the muscle there to get that weight very heel toe balance so that we could achieve all the same stuff we wanted in the CB in just a little bit more forgiving package. So we added a little bit of offset, not an offensive amount, but it does help with the launch a little bit. So for guys that are pretty good ball strikers, mediocre to good ball strikers, and just want a little bit help, maybe 4, 5, 6, maybe just 4, maybe 4, 5, somewhere in there, and a little bit intimidated by looking down at the top line of a pure cavity back player's iron. This is going to be the new level feel that you're used to, 1020 carbon that you're used to, and the forgiveness of maybe a little toey or a little high on the face. So just a little bit more wiggle room.
For somebody who's not looking to go into something two-piece that's going to create surprises and all those different things. So you're still getting that consistent performance out of a fully forged one-piece without taking that leap into something that's got a bunch of stuff going on the inside of it. And so something we keep talking about that you may or may not be familiar with, CG, center of gravity. We've mentioned that multiple times. If that doesn't mean much to you, that's totally okay. Essentially what that does is where the characteristics of how that golf club comes through at impact. So a perfectly centered or perfectly balanced CG is really, in simplified terms, just not going to have tendencies. The iron's not going to have a tendency to go left, a tendency to go right. It's going to be up to the player's input for that iron to perform and that ball to fly the way that they're expecting it to. So let's jump into the last one, my favorite in the lineup. Maybe going to not be the most relevant to all the players out there, but I would guess that everybody's looking at this thing going, man, that thing looks good. I would love to have it in my bag. The 702 MB, so a little bit larger, well, maybe significantly larger than our 480 MC, which was one of the smaller irons on the market, but really just a purist's traditional blade here. You're going to get the same geometry design that you have in the CB. You're going to get the same tungsten toe plug, a beautiful sole there, in my opinion, not too thin. You can get some MBs that the sole is just so thin, they can be really hard to get out of the turf.
Butter knife.
Butter knife. I mean, this thing is like, can't believe it's not butter knife, right? I mean, it's just a little bit better for you than maybe what a traditional blade should be. But boy, that tungsten plug in the toe just creates such nice balance in the long irons. I've been seeing really great launch numbers out of the long irons, which tends to not be the case with an MB. So Andy, thank you. I appreciate this one coming out. This thing is just money. So really all you're getting different from the CB is you're losing that perimeter weighting. So if you do catch these high on the face, kind of up where there's not a lot of mass, you are going to see a difference in performance. So this one is definitely geared towards the player that's got their ball striking developed. They're looking for consistent performance, looking for the ball to do what they expect when it comes out. So with that, that's our 702 lineup. Andy, you did design these all to be comboed together. So just tell us a little bit about the lofts and just kind of the principle that you had behind making a comboable set across the entire lineup, which we haven't done before.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about early on in the development process was we wanted to make this lineup such that you could combo it in any way you wanted. So we intentionally developed the lofts to be all the same so that we could easily swap in and out. You can run into issues when you have lineups that have different lofts in them, and you try to combo them, and you end up with 2 7-irons or 2 6-irons or something, and one of them is bent strong, one of them is bent weak. So CB and MB are both the same blade length. They're both the same loft. They are designed to go specifically together. We see a lot of people who want a little bit of a CB in the top of their bag and more of an MB blade kind of a look at the bottom of their bag. And then we didn't want to leave out the more forgiving iron on that, because there's going to be people who want to have a CB with a little bit more forgiveness at the top of their bag too. So we did the whole lineup across, a little bit more heel to toe length on the plus. But we've seen combos already where people were doing what we call the super combo.
The super combo.
Where they'll do like 4-5 in the plus, 6-7 or 5-6-7, 8 in the CB, and then they'll do the rest of their bag in the MB. So you can combo them any way that you want, and we designed them that way specifically. So we think we hit it out of the park with that.
I couldn't agree more. And the combo set, I mean, do what's best for you. Don't get stuck on lofts and different things like that. Progressive lofts is just a theory. Sometimes your 7 and 8 iron gapping is going to be a little different than your 8 and 9 iron gapping, even though the lofts are the same. So just make sure you go hit on a launch monitor, you get dialed in, you know what your clubs are doing. They're going to get built by our master builders to just the absolute best quality that you can get in golf. So we're super excited for our new 702 series. If you haven't given it a try yet, check out our demo program. We've had these things absolutely flying off the shelves so far, and we're amped about it. The feedback has been incredible. If you already have some 702s, get out onto those golf blogs on the internet. Help us out. Share your feedback with all your fellow golfers out there. As a small direct-to-consumer company, we need all the help we can get sharing the word so that we can keep our prices down for you, and you can level up.
Level up.